Right, so the aim of what I'm going to do in these sessions is teach you some basics of Excel so that you know what to do. We find that when students are doing the independent investigation, they just don't have the sufficient Excel skills to be able to edit some fairly basic things on Excel, and hopefully this will get you up to speed. So I'm going to start from a base that assumes zero understanding, and it'll get more and more complicated. So I'm going to go through things. I suggest what you do is you listen, and then you have a go at doing what I'm doing. So pause it, stop, have a go, restart again. So first one, what is Excel? Excel is a spreadsheet program. It's divided into a whole series of different cells. So each of these boxes are called cells, and each cell has a specific has a letter and a number based on the column and the row it's in. So I'm clicking in a cell at the moment, and you'll see highlighted at the top it is in column C and it's row 16, so that would be C16 as a cell. So can we change the size of these? Yes, you can. If you highlight one of the columns, go to the right of the column, and you can drag it to make them bigger or smaller. If you want to make it the size of the largest thing in there, which would be the word population, it's the widest, if you double click it, then it'll fill everything in into there. So these ones that I've got at the moment, B, C and D, I've just double clicked, and therefore they've got all the same size, all the kind of maximum size. So I've entered some data into here that we're going to be using. I've entered a random selection of countries. I've entered their GDP per capita. I've entered the Human Development Index, data for that country, and the population in millions. So first thing we're going to do is think about how you format cells. So at the moment these are just in as numbers, but actually these are in dollars. So I want to change these so they're in dollars. So I'm going to highlight all of the cells. This is now called an array when you have multiple cells all highlighted together. So this would be the array of B3 down to B13. Then I'm going to right click, go to Format Cells, and in this bit here I've got what type of category I would like these cells to be. So at the moment they're all just as general ones. You can type in whatever you want, but I want to change them into a currency. So I can change them to currency. I want to take them out of pounds and put them into US dollars. They've got in here, let's look, US dollars, and I don't want any decimal places. You can see my sample ones at the top. Let's get rid of those. So I want no decimal places and put them in US dollars. Click OK. So I've now got all of these in dollars rather than just as a number. So I can do other things with those as well. So I'm going to do it for the HDI ones. And if you notice, India's HDI actually happened to be 0.640, but in the general it got rid of the 0, so actually I want that. So I'm going to highlight them all, right click, Format Cells. I'm going to go to Number, and this time I'm going to say I want 3 decimal places, and that means that it should add a 0 into my India one. Again, happened to be India, but India didn't. Well, it must have been 0.0 in terms of its population. So I'll do the same thing, right click, Format Cells, Number, I want 1 decimal place, and now there's some consistency across all the data I'm using. So what else can I do? I can change the format of the cells, just like you can do if you're writing something in Word. So at the moment I've got a title that's a bit bigger, it's in bold. I can do that with other things as well. So I'll highlight the labels that I've got at the top, and let's say I want to put them bold, I'll underline them. I can change the colour of something if I want to. I can change the size of the text, etc. I can even put data in the middle if I wanted to. So if I chose to, I could highlight countries, put them in the middle, stick them on the right. I can keep all of mine on the left at the moment. If I printed this off at the moment, I would just go to File, print, and it would print an A4 page of whatever was there and the second A4 page of whatever was on my right, and it's actually cut off the blue box that I put in there. But you'll see that at the moment there's no boxes, no frame around any of that data. That's because all of these cells on the program have a kind of grey outline, but actually there isn't any underlying grid behind those. But I can add a grid to them if I want to. So I'm going to select all my data here. If I go into this little drop down box here, this will tell me which of the borders I want to fill in. So I can do specific ones, the top, the bottom, the left, the right, whatever. I'm going to go for all borders. If I click all borders like that, you'll now see that the borders become much darker. And if I go to print and just Control P, you'll now see that if I printed that off, that would now have a grid on it. It now looks a bit ridiculous. So I've got this underlined, so I'll take those off. And I can do different things. I can colour some of these in if I want to, and maybe I'll put a little colouring at the top. I'm going to put these, I'm going to centrally align my bits in here, and now I've got something that looks a little bit better. If I want to, I can put a slightly bigger, thicker box around the outside, a thick box border. Sometimes I do that for the title as well. So send it through to print, you can now see a thicker border around the edge and a thicker border around my title rows. Great. So we know what cell is, we know how to resize our columns and our rows. Same with if you're going down on one of the rows, you can drag it down if you want to make it bigger, double click it, takes it back to the sensible size. Right, let's think about manipulating some of this data now, because this is where Excel starts to get powerful. You could have done any of that we've just done already in Word. So what I will be doing now is I'm just going to open up a magnifier. And the reason I'm going to open up the magnifier is just so that you can read a little bit better what I type in. So the Excel document's exactly the same, but right at the very top of the screen that's recording, you'll now see a zoom in of wherever I'm hovering. That means that you'll be able to read some of the equations a little bit more clearly. There's no need for you to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to look at the GDP per capitas. I've got a list down here of my countries, and I want to work out the maximum and the minimum values in those. So I click in the cell where I want the response to go in, and I'm going to put them sensibly at the bottom of that column, of that array of data. And then I'm going to go into this box here, which is the formula bar. And if I go into the formula bar, I'm going to type in my equation. So to work out the maximum value, it's equals max, max equals max. Then I open brackets, and then I type in the array of the data I want the maximum value from. So my top value is B3, my bottom value is B13, and I want all of the data within there. So I go B3 colon B13. And you'll see as I type B3 and B13, that data actually gets a little blue box around the outside, and I can check that I've typed in the right numbers. I close the brackets, and that's my equation done, equals max B3 colon B13. I press enter. I'll now see that my maximum value appears down in here. My maximum value was, who was it? Iceland, $59,000 GDP. I'm just going to write in here to remind me what I did. My maximum, stick these over on the right, so my maximum, and I'm going to do the minimum as well. So I'll click on the one below, let's write min in here as well, stick this on right align. Let's get into this one. I'm going to work out what the minimum value is. So, surprise, surprise, let's just move that to others over, equals min. And then again, brackets in the array. Brackets B3 through to B13. Close brackets. Now I've got myself my minimum value. My minimum value was Ethiopia's, $707. So to work out the range, I can just do equals and then I could click on my maximum cell, which is B14, and I can either type it into the formula box in here, or I can click them if I want to. So equals B14, put a subtract in there, B15. So my equation equals B14 minus B15. So take whatever the value is in cell B14, subtract B15. Press enter. My range is $59,269 US. Next off, what can I do? I can work out the average. So let's work out average, mean. So again, I'm going in here so you can have a look. Equals average, open brackets, and then I'm going to put my array in again. So B3 through to B13. Close brackets. And there's my average. My mean for that data was $19,000. The average GDP in those randomly selected countries. And it may well not make sense to do this for many of them, but let's do it for no, let's not do it for the GDP. So I've got my maximum, my minimum, my ranges, my means, and I could do this for the other data as well. I could do it for the HDIs, I could do it for the population, and in here, if I wanted to work out the maximum HDI, I'd do the same. Equals max. I could type it in, equals max. But this time I've got a new array because I'm not using the ones in B, I'm using the ones in C. So C3 through C13, close brackets, equals min C3 through C13 equals that value minus that value equals average of C3 through C13. Right, there's my data for the HDIs as well. Now there's actually a good trick as to how to speed these things up. And if I wanted to, I could copy across the formulae from this section here just across one column, and it would move all of the arrays across with it. So if I just highlight all of these four here, where I've got the cells for the maximum, the minimum, the range and the mean for HDIs, and if I just grab this little green corner down here and I drag it one right and I pull that across, it will actually move all the data, or move all this formulae across here for me. So if I go to this one here, this is now working out my maximum population that's in here, my minimum population, my means, etc. Now I don't want all of those decimal places, so let's just get rid of those, and we are in a good position now. Now I can also work out totals. That doesn't really make sense to do a total GDP per capita or a total HDI, but a total population perhaps may make more sense. So I'm going to put total in here, and this is adding up all the data that's in here. So I want to find out what's the total population of all of these countries added together, and my formula for this one would be equals sum, I'm adding them, open brackets, and then my array. So I'm on, what am I on, B, C, D, 3 through to D13. Okay, blue box on the outside, checking I've got the right things in, close my brackets, bingo. So I've got just under 2 billions worth of the world's population in these, I've got 10 countries, 11 countries. 11 countries. Great, so now I can do some basic data manipulation. I've done maximums and minimums. I have calculated the range of data. I have worked out some averages, and I can work out totals. And that is as far as we're going to go with our first session.